Hi there and welcome to our video in collaboration with Claire's Crafty Corner and lots of lovely other resin artists. We're going to use this lovely mould and then dust it with our Temu mica powders. Just using a regular dry bristled paintbrush, and then you're going to see what we're going to do by putting it onto this cylinder vase. So just showing you here the colours we're using. We've got a lovely raspberry pink or magenta, moss green, a pearl white, that is amethyst, and then I believe this is sapphire blue. And look, this is one of a set of 3 vases that we got from IKEA. So this is quite a good IKEA hack. There we go. So just using the brush here, this has been sped up, and that gorgeous raspberry pink coloured or magenta pink coloured Temu mica powder. So just dusting it on there. There we are. And as you can see, it's taking to the mould quite well. This is the first time we've used this mould, so we weren't sure quite how the mica powder would take to it, but it looks absolutely stunning. Gorgeous. Of course, what you'll do is during this process of applying the different colours, you're going to turn the mould the other way round, give it a little tap, so tappy wappy as it were. So give it a little tap, tap, tap. That gets rid of any residual mica powder. There we go, I'm just tapping it there. This clip, as I said, has been sped up. So we're just applying the sapphire now, which is like a purpley, bluey colour. There we are. Blue, one of my favourite colours. Well, actually, it's my all-time favourite colour. But look at the way this goes on. Nice pearlized sort of colour effect that it has. Gives a bit of light and dark shade to the mould as well, just in the way we're putting it on. So there we are, just going back and applying the lovely sort of raspberry magenta coloured mica powder. So I'm trying to get like a gradation of colour there, as you can see. So there we are. Do, of course, wear gloves if you want to. Make sure you wear a respirator mask when using mica powder, because it is a very fine powder. It gets into the atmosphere, and the last thing you want to be doing is breathing it in. Not that it's toxic, but it's just a very fine powder, and you don't want to have any like allergic reactions and so on. Work in a well ventilated area. We did have them. I was wearing a mask whilst doing this, and I had the door open in the room out to our garden. In fact, lovely. We finally got some sunshine here in the UK. So I was able to have the garden, the door open to the garden. So this is this beautiful moss green mica powder. Stunning. I love this. Is one of my favourite colours as well at the moment to use. Just applying it there to the mould. We will be repeating this. You'll see Wayne repeating it, because this is almost like I suppose a dual aspect, not quite complete opposites on the vase, but yeah. Anyway, if you stay tuned to this video to the end, you'll see what I mean. So there we are, just showing you the finished piece. Now, don't forget, go in after you've sort of turned it upside down and tapped out the residue. Go around and just clean up the parts of the mould where you don't want the mica powder. So there we are, I'm just giving it a bit of a clean up. Also, it helps you to see the overall finished part and how it looks in the mould itself, the bits that are going to have the resin put in it. Everything that we're using in this video today will be linked in the description part of the video, along with any discount codes if we have any. There we go. This mould is actually from Temu. The Temu mica powders we did purchase some time ago. I believe it's a bit difficult to get hold of Temu through Amazon in the UK, so you might need to use Amazon in the US, or you can use whatever brand of mica powder you wish to create the effect that you want. And the colours, obviously you don't have to stick to the sort of colours we've used. You can use different colours. Creams, yellows, a little bit of oranges perhaps as well would look equally as nice. So there we go, that's it all cleaned up, ready for the resin. So there we go, and as you can see, that's what it looks like from the other side, because that is how it will look when it's demolded. Fingers crossed. Wayne has made up some lovely resin. We're using ghoul resin, that's GHG. UOLE, or it might be OULE, apologies, that's the brand. He's also added in some of the pearl white artisan mica powder into it. It is a 1-to-1 mixing ratio. It's relatively bubble free, but if you're at all concerned about the bubbles in it, you can always use the Resiners machine which gets rid of all those bubbles. We do have one. But we have found that using this particular brand of resin, if you just let it stand for a couple of minutes and a lot of the bubbles dissipate to the surface, you can pop them on the surface. You can give it a couple of spritzes with some isopropyl alcohol, or you can use a long-necked lighter. So just apply a little bit of heat to it and they all tend to burst and disperse. There we go, it's just topping it up. He did use a little stir stick there. You can use a micro brush or whatever else you feel happy using. It's just helping to coax the resin down to the finer parts of the mould, just making sure that all of the detail is picked up. So here we go. He's also, I'm sorry we didn't see any footage of us actually dusting these moulds, but all we've done is used exactly the same colour mica powders, and we've gone in and dusted this beautiful dragonfly mould. We have tried using this mould almost best part of 7 or 8 months ago and had a complete failure with it, but we've also used it much more recently. If you want to look back through our playlist where I used it and used beautiful pinks and golds, and it was 100% success. So this is us using it again for this particular project. This is Mr. Dragonfly. So again, a little bit of artistic license even with this. We did the same thing with these two beautiful moulds. This is a butterfly mould where we've used a blue coloured mica powder and also outlined it in black. And then did the similar sort of thing for that tiny little miniature one at the top there. Wayne's used exactly the same resin as he used for the dragonfly, and now we've got a miniature dragonfly again, dusted with the mica powders and then filled with this beautiful resin. There we go. So there we are, using a micro brush just to coax it down into the tail part, or the body part and the tail of that mould, and then put those to one side to let them cure overnight. So this is the 24 hours later, so he's just going to demold the flowers there. It's just very carefully taking it away. It is a little bit fragile because it's not very deep, this mould, and there is a lot of detail, so just go careful when you're just pulling it away from the resin. It does come away quite easily. It's a good mould to use, but just want to be aware of the fact that if you a little bit too, should we just say, enthusiastic with it, not rough but enthusiastic, it may actually leave some of the detail in the mould, or it might split. So you don't want that to happen. So Wayne's just getting rid of a few little bits of overpour there that are very thin with his nails. You can use a little pair of scissors, you could use an emery board, like nail file, totally up to you how you decide to do that, but just go careful when you're doing this because you don't want any bits to break off. So there we go, look at that. So this is the cylinder vase, and it's from IKEA. This is upcycling and piece, a vase, one of a set of 3 vases, in fact, from IKEA. We did only use the one in this, and Wayne's just deciding where is the best placement for this. It's still bendy, which is great because then it can fit round the cylinder shape. He's going to apply it to the vase to get it to stick. He's using super glue. So you use what you feel comfortable using. If you feel comfortable using UV resin, then use it. But we use super glue just because it has an almost instant adherence and fixative to the glass itself, and then that meant that we could move on and put the placement of the other things that we were going to use. There we go. So just trying to get the vase to stay still, maybe prop something either side of it for future projects. Every day of school day here. Learn something every day. There we go. Careful when you're using super glue or any glue, other glues, that you don't also glue your fingers to your project. There we go. So he's just pressing it down, making sure every bit of the mould adheres to the glass surface of the vase. There we go. Obviously, if you do notice afterwards that you've got a bit of the glue where it shouldn't be, then you can clean it up with a little bit of isopropyl alcohol on a cotton wool bud, and it cleans it up. So here we go with the demold of these other miniature dragonfly here. Oh, that is beautiful, absolutely stunning. So these are still a little bit flexible at this point. This was the following day, the same as with the flowers. It just means that you're able to bend it around the surface of the vase. I mean, look at that, that's gorgeous. And I love this. Beautiful. So yeah, just a little bit of overpour there that needs to be cleaned up. And just use your fingers to remove it, or a little pair of scissors, or an emery board. So here's Mr. Dragonfly, and he has worked. You do need to use regular resin for this, not UV resin. I don't know if the 4-hour demold resins would work. I assume they would, but I can't say for definite because I haven't used them for this type of experiment. There we go. So again, here we got Wayne, and he's just zoomed out so that you can see him trying to decide where he's going to put the dragonflies. So the flowers are all stuck on nicely, so he's just deciding where he's going to put the dragonfly, where he's going to put the butterfly, and where if he's going to use the miniature one, and if so, where is he going to put it? And is he going to use the little miniature dragonfly? Possibly not. Right. He's also decided at this point that he's going to do the flower mould again, because otherwise there's too much negative space on it. So he's now going to dust this mould using the same colours. So we've got this beautiful magenta or raspberry pink colour, which he's now going to use onto the mould. Again, you're just applying it using a dry bristled artist paintbrush into the mould. There we go. So he has adopted a different way. He's doing this differently to the way I did it, as in colour placement. So it's not going to be the exact copy of when I dusted this mould. It's going to be slightly different, which is absolutely fine. You're never going to get two flowers in nature that are exactly the same anyway. Yeah. I love that effect. That's gorgeous. So it looks like he was just trying to get the tips of the flowers in that beautiful magenta raspberry pink colour. There we go. And then he's going in with this lovely amethyst purple colour. And he just wiped off his brush on a bit of dry paper towel. Dipped it in the mica pot there. And then just applies it into the mould. There we go. This actual clip has been sped up slightly because obviously you take your time doing this, making sure that it is going into the mould where you want it to be. There we go. I can't think of what these flowers remind me of. It's definitely not roses. I think it might actually be dahlias, if you know the dahlia flower. Why not put in the comment what flower you think this reminds you of? For me, it's definitely dahlias. There we go. That looks stunning. And he's also applied, and he's already applied it to most of it, this lovely moss green mica powder to create some foliage, some leaves, and the stems. Absolutely stunning. You could of course use different colours. You could do them in pale pinks and creams. That might be look more like a magnolia flower perhaps then. And you could use then, if you're going to do that, jet black on the stems. Wow. That would make the colours really pop. Lovely. Right. So he's tapped off the residue, he's turned the mould upside down, tapped out the residue, just given it a little bit of a clean up here. Make sure it's nice and clear. And he then did also put some of the resin with the pearl white mica powder in it. Now he's decided he's going to use some super glue here on the dragonfly. Now he's going around the edges of the piece, the dragonfly itself, to make sure that he gets a complete adhesion and fixing of this dragonfly to the vase itself. So there we go. Just carefully putting the super glue round the edge of the piece itself. There. And here it goes onto the mould where he wants it to be. Now, because this is still slightly flexible, he is able to just push it round the curvature, that's the word, curvature of the vase, so that it adheres to it completely. So it's just holding it in place there, getting the super glue to do its job, and glue it to the vase itself. I don't know if you saw there on the left hand side, then when he took his hand away, the wing came back up. Obviously then he's having to go back in and apply some more pressure. Again, be careful when you're using super glue that you don't actually glue yourself to the piece that you're working on. You don't want that to happen. I'm sure we've all done that at some point or another. There we go. Just making sure it's all definitely fixed to the glass vase itself. Of course, you don't have to use a cylinder shaped vase. You could use a rounded shape, a square, whatever you have handy, or whatever you see that you're going to purchase. You can also upcycle vases that maybe you've got from a charity shop or thrift shop, or those boot sale purchases that maybe you've been lucky to find and buy. So he's just applying some super glue to the miniature butterfly, having decided where he's going to place it. And again, just exactly the same procedure as with the dragonfly, the butterfly and the flowers, just making sure, pressing it on, making sure it is getting good contact with the glass vase, and then wiping off any excess that he can see. That looks really sweet. Just finishes it that bit off nicely, I think. So just making a final decision as to where he's going to put the butterfly, the larger butterfly with the black outline. Is he going to put it there? Is he going to add in the miniature dragonfly or not? And if so, where is he going to put it? So it's quite an organic sort of thing to do. You can just go with it, or you can try and plan it out as to where you want things to go. Ooh, there's a fly across the screen just then. So here he is, he's just applying, he's decided where he's going to put the large butterfly. He's applying some super glue. There you go. A decent amount of it to make sure that obviously it gets enough contact with the surface of the glass. And there we go, it's going to put it in there. Presses the wings down firmly, applies pressure, and then we'll just wait for the super glue to do its job and glue the butterfly to the glass. Oh, that sounds quite painful, but it's not, obviously. There we go. Any moment now, he's going to take his hands away, having not glued himself to the project. But hopefully you can see that it is taking shape. There we go. And that it's actually starting to look really lovely. So we've got some more resin mixed here. So I think he's going to go back to, yeah, there we go. So he's gone back to the mould that he has dusted with mica powder, this beautiful flower mould, and he's just topping it up with this lovely resin. It really is lovely resin to use this. making sure that it goes into all the detail parts of the mould, and that will pick up all those lovely colours of mica powder into the finished piece that he'll then do exactly the same process with and apply it to the vase using the super glue. There you go, just a little bit of a top up there. You did use a micro brush, I think, a microfiber brush there, without the brush bit on it. It creates quite a nice little pokey, I'm going to call it a pokey tool, a little pokey stick, which then means that you can just go around the edges of moulds, removing bubbles, making sure that all the resin has gone to all the edges of the mould. So here he is, he's redusted the dragonfly mould, because yes, you've guessed it, we're going to have 2 dragonflies on this vase. And he's just making sure that it's all going to the edges where he wants it to go to. Now this is quite a deep mould and he doesn't fill this one up to the top, otherwise it would be too bulky on the vase itself. So it's just something to remember if you've got quite a deep mould and you don't want it to be as deep, then don't fill the resin all the way up to the top. There we go. So then this is the following day. It is cured. It's not completely cured. It's not tacky to the touch, but it is okay to come out. Now he's lovely. Again, slightly different from the first one that we did, but that's all and good. Oh, sorry about the zooming in and out there to make everybody feel a little bit travel sick there. Sorry about that. But here we go again, just removing it from the mould very carefully. It is still a bit pliable. It's not tacky to touch. It's just malleable enough so that we can bend it again to form to go to the curvature of the vase that we're using, the glass vase. These would look, ideally would look just as lovely as part of a picture in like a box frame. They would look lovely. Also would look lovely set in a tray as part of a tray mould perhaps. But watch the depth of the mould. So there we go. He's decided where he's going to put it. Just going to make sure, there we go, that it is where he wants it to be. And then he applies the glue to this part, to this flower, using some super glue, and then he applies it to the mould. And sorry, we don't have any footage of that, but you've already seen that process, so you should be fine. So now we've got the dragonfly. Again, he's applying a slightly different brand of super glue. He must have run out of the original one. All up round the edges of the dragonfly itself, and then bringing the vase back into shot. And then doing the rather tricky part of keeping that vase still and then applying the glued up dragonfly, having dropped a bit of the glue. It's a bit more runny, this glue, this particular brand. And then just applying pressure from the on the dragonfly so that it adheres to the glass vase without, again, sticking your fingers to the glass vase or the dragonfly. There we go, which is a little bit tricky. I think he almost did that then. He almost stuck his hands to it, his fingers to it, just dabbing off any excess there. Ooh, nearly rolled away. So when this was finished, and as you can see here, Wayne has cleared up the glass itself, gave it a bit of a clean up, and look at that. I think that looks stunning. It is whizzing around on the turntable a little bit fast. This was outside in our garden. I think it looks stunning in the natural light, and look at that. Looks absolutely beautiful. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. Give us a like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we will see you again on Sunday with another video. Take care, everyone.